Okay, we are moving along here. This is Terra Lumination. This is your general report for you, Gemini, February 2018, that little time period. So remember, this is for lots of people. It's not a private reading or anything, so it might not make any sense. We don't know. Also, we're coming from a very wide lens here and not trying to impose any details or conditions on the reading, all right? Cards are well shuffled in advance. We're just going to the last second so that you're a witness. No jumpers, flyers, reversals, none of it. I'm just going to try and keep it very simple and basic and tell a story here, okay? So it's interesting times, all right? just just want to throw it in there. Saturn just started in Capricorn for you, Gemini. That's going to be going through your 8th house of deep intimacy, joint resources, joint finances, with a significant other, perhaps. You've got Jupiter in Scorpio going through your 6th house of health and healing and creating good habits, exposing old bad habits that are not healthy for you, creating a better lifestyle, finding out how you can better serve the world, things like that. And we just had the Aquarius uh, full moon thingy with Leo at the end of January, and you're coming into a new moon eclipse right in the middle of February, which is kind of harmonious for you. It's up there in your 9th house, about like higher consciousness, travel, learning, wisdom, getting getting as close to the the great beyond as you can in terms of understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. It's that 9th house energy of being the seeker of wisdom, the adventurer, being optimistic. It's a comfortable place for you, okay, Gemini? Anyway, let's just get on with it, okay? Just get on with it. Yes, here we go. Let's have a look. Cards are, I need to feel comfortable here. I need to be good for you, Gemini. All right, we're good. This is good. This is good. All right, here we go. So I'm going to cut it up, and we're going to go from there, okay? We are blessed, by the way, Gemini. All the Terra Lumination angels are here, and you've got yours too. So let's make it a team effort. Okay, this would be your core heart pulsing energy, literally beat by beat. The heart wants what it wants, needs what it needs, has to get what it has to get in order to move on to the next heartbeat. And it's your job, Gemini, to provide that, okay? In the most loving way possible. Loving yourself, okay? This is historic energy, legacy, baggage, past lives. It could be all the stresses from the last 5 years, with the Saturn cycles. It could be your employment resume. It could be, your relationship stresses, whatever it might be. It's what you're bringing in here to the reading with you. Okay. And this is the ever present now. This is the energy of the, as it's continuously unfolding, even though we live in this construct called time. It's a Saturn-based thing where we have an awareness of the past, a sensation of the future. We tended to often linger in the past and then project onto the future rather than stay present, because it's in the present where all our power lies, and a lot of us don't actually want to be there. We'd rather outsource our decisions, our life, our power to somebody who apparently knows better. Who knows better than you, Gemini? Interesting question. So this is how your power manifests. It's through the healing power of your decisions. It's through your decisions that you activate the so-called future. And when you are making decisions, you are aware of the, let's say, ambiguities of what lies ahead in this thing called time, where there is risk if you mess up, there is reward if you do well. Okay, so how do you make loving decisions that do actually work for you so that you can nurture yourself properly, Gemini? Be your own best friend, okay? Consequently, what would that bring? Okay. Now, if you're constantly outsourcing your life and all your decisions and treating everything as fate, and good things happen and then bad things happen and then you just react to it, okay, this would feel more like fate. But let's just say you, Gemini, here, because you're hanging out with Terra Lumination, that you would like to be in your power, okay, and make decisions boldly, even if you mess up, or especially if it works. Cool. So this is the energy of what if. What if, as you're anticipating going through the next beat to the next beat to the next beat. And here's the prospects that lead you into the next beat, okay? So I'm hoping you can see that heart shape here and think of that as a journey, okay, all that way. And then it starts from here each time, okay? Now we're going to look at the weather, circumstantial energy. You're going to make the best of it, okay, Gemini? Like you do, like anyone would do. It's not going to own you. You are smart and you're going to make the best use of it. Okay, so you have the Two of Wands here. So you might be feeling a lot of sensation of new beginnings happening for you, new prospects opening for you. And it wouldn't be surprising at all with Saturn having just moved into Capricorn for the next 3 years. It's a big, long journey. We're at the very, very early stages, just barely pushing offshore, heading out into the heavier, deep oceans. And also there's, the Aquarius new moon eclipse is just happening, which triggers the ending of things and the beginning of things, especially with higher knowledge. When it comes to wisdom, travel, seeing the world from a bigger perspective, seeing what your opportunities might be out there. So I see this as uh, like like a good weather forecast. Like it's an indication that good weather is coming here for you, and it's now time to make decisions. How are you going to set your sails? How are you going to pack everything in this new journey unfolding starting here in February? How are you going to what are you going to leave behind that you don't need? What are you hoping to find when you get there? What do you need with you on this journey? Okay, let's have a look. What is the heart saying? Okay. So yeah, here we are. We're moving on. Might be feeling like you're leaving an awful lot of love behind, everything that you did love. Some people get really in love with their problems, their love with their life, everything. It's like status quo. You might have a lot vested in a pre-existing or a currently existing lifestyle, full of everything, all the joys and the sorrows that make up life, the drama, everything. And yet, it looks like we're heading off into new beginnings, setting off in ways that the heart might feel a little bit of trepidation here. The heart knows that it's time to move on, so it is moving on, but it's moving on by simply trusting in the intuitive, let's say, impulse to go there. And if you want to, you can blame it on the planets, but the heart already knows, okay? So the heart is already prepared, the heart is already in motion. Uh, so let's see what happens. That's what the heart wants, okay? Are you going to nurture the heart? Are you going to bring new love in? Are you going to nurture whatever the heart is calling for? Let's have a look. What are you bringing in with you here? Okay. So a lot of cups here, Gemini. So, and I would like to also add great expectations. So my feeling here is that in some way, Gemini, you might have been able to get through some of these really challenging currents that a lot of people have had to endure, and you're coming out relatively unscathed compared to a lot of people. And that's great if you can do it. Not everybody has those skills. And it might be that you're coming in knowing that it's like, oh my gosh, I got through it okay. I'm ready to start again. I really would like to do that. That's what my heart wants. And you might be shaking in your boots in some way, Gemini, but you're still honoring what your heart wants. That's what it looks like here. Even though you might not have words for it or language about exactly how this new journey is going to unfold, what exactly are the endings? What exactly are the new beginnings? What is the destination? Is there even a map here? Is there even a kind of a glimpse of a mission plan or a vision going forward here? We don't know. It's, if you think of it as the ongoing spiritual journey of your life, ever unfolding, You're coming in knowing that you've got, my feeling is like having wind in your sails, having your mates on your side, like knowing what you love, knowing what you don't love anymore, celebrating your life, celebrating yourself, just being grateful. I feel that there's a lot of gratitude here, Gemini, coming from you, that you're just kind of glad to be alive at this moment compared to what a lot of people are having to deal with. And that puts you, it's almost like being immune to some of the horrors and tragedies and pain and grief and suffering. And it gives you a lot of leeway moving forward, especially if you can continue to celebrate yourself in very, very loving ways. I'm not saying going out on drunken orgies or anything. All I'm saying is just being very, very kind to yourself, appreciating your mates and your buddies, and allowing your buddies to appreciate and enjoy you as well. Since they might be looking to you for guidance, even though you might not know exactly what you're doing or where you're going. We're all still in the very early stages of this epic new Saturn journey for the next 3 years, and we're all dealing with the eclipses too, and we're all dealing with Jupiter in Scorpio too, one way or another. It's just that you seem to be just enough on top of it to go, whew, I actually got through that. Hey, it's almost like, hey, TL, guess what? I got through that. Here, do you want to have a quick one with me? Like, here, I'll pop a bottle. You pop a bottle. Let's cheer, toast each other. Okay, thanks, Gemini. I appreciate that. Yeah, it'll be my round next time. Okay, thanks, Gemini. So, what about now? What about in the present now, where a lot of people don't want to be, but where you are? Okay, so you're going for it. Okay, cool. With the Knight of Wands, it's almost like, why not? I might as well just go for it if I just happen to be one of those people who is doing a fairly decent job of figuring out my decisions and my journeys and allowing things to unfold without getting myself into too much trouble. So that would put you in a position of seeing the opportunities, seeing the landscape unfolding in front of you without being too heavily intimidated. Even though there might not be a plan or a journey or a destination that's well defined at the moment, at least you know it's there. It's like you know the wind is there, you know everything is aligning for you, and you're just instinctively, naturally saying, you know what, let's just go for it. I'm going to give it everything I've got. Um, if I don't, you end up, like missing the opportunities, missing the weather, because this is very fleeting energy. This reading will be quite different next month. So right now, my feeling for you, Gemini, is that on some deep instinctive level, you are already aligned with what this journey is going to be demanding from you. Even though you don't have the maps, you don't even necessarily have all the skills, you don't even have maybe even a description of where you think it ought to be going. It's just that you have to do this. So what about your decisions here in order to actually activate this journey, and literally jump on it and get in the flow? Okay, it means acknowledging what you're going to leave behind. Okay, it's very important to, like, let's say, be really honest here, Gemini. You might be very good at maintaining an optimistic demeanor and like finding ways to get on top of really heavy challenges, but deep down inside, if you are burying things or hiding things that are actually deeply painful and traumatic, um, classic things of grief, trauma, sorrow, misery, total heartbreak and loss from things, people, places, jobs, situations that your heart really, really loves and has loved very, very dearly, perhaps for long periods of time. It's very important to understand that when you're making decisions that, like, if you're buoyant and full of optimism here, but deep inside your heart, there is a sense of, just say, grief, literally grief, shame, sorrow, anything that's very debilitating. Those are the kind of energies that can be very, very, let's say, almost crippling if we let them get hold of you. So if it's evident here that this card is showing up in the energy of decisions. It's very, very important to acknowledge that, you know, the energy could be there. You could be feeling, if you're honest, uh, perhaps grief and sorrow, but it's do you really want to make decisions from that perspective? That makes you very vulnerable to slipping back into what doesn't work or whatever is supposed to be left behind on your new journey, your life unfolding. So in some ways, you're very, very vulnerable to your own, let's say, emotions right now, and not very aware of the good things that are coming. It's coming. It's like the little Two of Cups is right here, and it's there for you. It's just that it's like these two contradictory energies here, going for it, going for it, going for it. And then deep down inside, it's like a big gulp. Oh my gosh. It means leaving behind a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Some of it might not have been great, but it's loved. You know, it's something that's very deeply close to your heart. So how are we going to get through this awkward paradox? Okay. With the Strength card here, my feeling is that if you look at this journey, the way it's unfolding, and how it's a chance for you to, let's say, rise up to like a higher vibration, higher frequency version of yourself, a more spiritually evolved version of yourself, where it's time to, let's say, mature out of perhaps a almost like rose-colored glasses. What's that expression? Almost like a blinkered view, where you're constantly convincing yourself that everything's wonderful all the time, just to get by, just to get through. Whereas deep down, in fact, there might be a lot of issues and buried emotional wounds and suffering here that are not being dealt with. And so that puts you very much at odds with yourself. In other words, like the ego of Gemini and all your strength and light and power in its most wonderful, you know, like manifestation of itself, like the most awesome Gemini ever. And yet there's a whole other level on top of that where it's about bringing this into spiritual alignment. So life, in other words, life is bigger and much more profound than like feeling good and feeling happy all the time and just going for it and going for living life. We have to deal with some of the issues that are more deeply buried that can ultimately pile up more and more and more and become very debilitating. But that process for you is Gemini. It feels like it's something like you're trying to avoid or pretend it's not there. But the whole the whole theme so far about this reading at this juncture is that to make this work for you so that you do make the most of this journey and find ways to love yourself more, it's learning that you might have to put, like, let's say, certain types of conditioning, like mental, egoic, uh, like already pre-established patterns that have worked very well for you, Gemini, in the past, realizing the paradox that lies inside of you, and now having to translate that into a higher, more spiritual understanding so that you can bring what I see as a paradox here, bring it into full alignment where you're not such a paradox to yourself and others, where you're being much more honest and true to yourself and to others, and which would translate into spiritual evolution. Okay? So if you think of this journey as a journey of spiritual evolution where you get to, let's say, rise and evolve to higher spiritual levels of, let's say, coming into being, so that the paradox that's inside of you is resolved and you become like spiritually more whole, where you acknowledge the paradox, you understand like there are things that can feel very painful, you just don't want to deal with them. You'd rather have everything good and fun all the time and feel good. It's totally understandable. You have the right and the decision to do that. But it's like we're all here to evolve and grow. So consequently, let's have a look. Okay, well, what it feels like to me here is that as buoyant as things might be, like as you come into the room here, if you pretend this is like an office and you're just a Gemini, you decided like, I'm just gonna like stumble in here, see what this Terra Illumination's talking about. And you come in fully optimistic, raring to go, and then TL comes out with all this stuff like, wait a minute, Terra Illumination, you're supposed to make me feel good. You know, you're supposed to predict the future and lay everything out so I can have a better life and enjoy your reading. And now you're telling me I've got all these issues that I'm not dealing with, and I've got to come into alignment with myself and take things to a higher level, bring myself, my regular, wonderful, awesome Gemini self, into service of the will of heaven. You know, I mean, what are you talking about, man? And then Fair Illumination says, yeah, kind of, yeah, that's what it's about. That's why you're here. Did you realize it when you got here? And then you kind of go, I guess so. Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have been here at all in the first place. Maybe I should just go. And then Terra Illumination says, well, no, 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 don't give up. You've already started on the journey. Don't give up. It's only just beginning. And consequently, you might feel as though there's a lot of challenges now facing you. If you think of this as representing the energy of Saturn for the next 3 years, and how you're going to have to realize things and deal with things that you might not, that might make you feel like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to deal with all that intimacy stuff, going deep into the soul. It's like, it's too much. I'll end up I'll end up in a jam. I'll end up in a corner where I won't know what to do or how to do it, and I'll feel all lost. And oh, and then Terra Illumination says, it's okay. That's part of what you have to go through to understand this. It's the whole idea is to get you more and more in spiritual alignment with yourself, so that you become more evolved. So then Gemini says, okay, I guess we can handle it. So bring it on. I bring it on. I mean, I've been through so much already. You already told me that when I came in the room. And then TL says, yeah, I did, but there's more to come. You're still alive. You still have a whole journey. You still have a whole life ahead of you. And Gemini goes, okay, I guess I can handle it. Whew. So when you're making decisions from a point of emotional fragility here, you can be very, very vulnerable. But that might be, let's say, what needs to happen, because it's the whole idea of my feeling with this reading is for you to become much more in touch with the invisible sides of yourself, the deeply buried parts of your psyche, your emotions, your feelings, your soul, in ways that you're not normally uh, had practiced before, but now we're dealing with it because this is the next step in the journey. That's all. So what if you mess up? Okay, it's going to be a lot of work. If you mess up and you like avoid what we're talking about here, and you feel like you can find ways to skirt around these issues and not have to deal with this spiritual ascendancy thing, then it's like becomes labor. It becomes the whole Saturn journey becomes very laborious, very, very tedious, and it's like you're not getting anywhere. It's like you're going mountain climbing through heavy, thick mud, wearing really big, heavy, clumsy boots, and it's not much fun. Whereas if you make your decisions on the understanding that it's going to have to involve letting go of certain concepts that you might be in love with about how you are built, what is your ego, and then putting the work in, understanding that it's going to be a long journey to evolve and grow like this, and then turning it into a daily practice, building up, investing in yourself, okay? Nurturing yourself in very tangible, evidential ways, and becoming a daily practice, okay? I feel that's very much to do with the Jupiter in Scorpio in the 6th house. There's very much about transformational healing going on there, so you can turn it into something valuable for you, okay? So where does this, what are the prospects here? Okay, so what tends to happen? Okay, let's just do the reality check here with Saturn, and let's do the Jupiter thing, Jupiter in Scorpio. What happens is that in the healing process, it's all about revealing it to heal it. So if we get off the merry-go-round here and get in touch with reality here, as awkward and uncomfortable and reluctant as you might be to do that, what happens is ultimately really good news, because you start to expose all the things that were causing you so much anguish, okay? And so that you don't have to be owned by them anymore. So this becomes vividly exposed. You got to reveal this to heal this. So I feel that this is very good news, and it's going to be work. It's going to be a journey, and you can just deal with this one step at a time. If you want to think of this as a long-term reading, I mean, it's really only for February, but if you want, you can say every week, I'm going to heal one of these and one of these and one of these. These are all your concepts, ideas, thoughts, nightmares, everything that stresses you out. You don't have to be this way. That's the cool thing about this reading. You can heal this, and it's going to be work, and you may not want to do it, but it's going to be very good for you. Okay? Think of it as a journey of self-love. Okay? But we're just going much deeper now. Okay? All right. And you'll learn so much more, and you'll have so much fun, you know, new moon, Aquarius, eclipse in the ninth house. Let's put it that way. All right. So I won't say anything more. You can reinterpret this however you want. I feel that the story goes like this, and it's every single beat of the heart goes like this. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Bye, Gemini.